as is always the case with poker evenings, you never know what the hell's going to happen. We did have the place just about sold out, but people are trickling in, and some people aren't arriving, and some people have pulled out at the last minute. Some people could be anywhere.
It's called Late Ridge.
You turn the radio off here?
I didn't put the radio on.
Someone muzzle on it.
Matt's onto it.
Put a muzzle on it.
Any other requests?
Okay, anyway, tonight, last time a lot of you people came back in February, we had a night of poker comedy. This time it's a little bit different. Instead of getting one talking head, you're going to get a whole bunch of talking heads. Altogether there should be 7 comedians tonight. So they're not actual comedians. Most of them think they're comedians. When they come to poker nights, they're really, really funny. Everyone laughs at them or with them, and we have a pretty good time. So poker's all about fun. That's why we try to combine poker with comedy. I'll introduce the 7 speakers as they come up when it's their turn, give a little bit of a rundown. Another feature of tonight, we've got a gong, and if you reach 5 minutes, there'll be 5 minutes up on the time clock for each speaker. Dogmeat George is going to have real problems with the 5 minutes because he's never told a 5-minute story in his life, and sometimes he goes back to back to back stories. But anyway, we'll see how the stories go as we come up. The reason I've chosen Jenny on the gong is because she is my wife, and she knows how to stop people talking shit about poker.
Is that the thing that she hits you with at home?
Yeah, we've introduced a metaphorical gong to the bedroom. And when I get home from poker, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and I want to tell my poker stories, especially bad beats, Jenny has banned me from bad beats. So I can't tell those anymore. She tells me, nah, wait till morning or whatever. And that's usually what happens. But there was one time recently I came home and Jenny was sort of half waiting up for me. I saw the light on as I drove up. When I arrived, the light was off. And I said, I did all right tonight. She said, oh, what happened? What happened? I said, oh, I won a couple of $1,000. Oh, she goes, congratulations, fantastic. And then in the morning, she goes, well, how'd you go last night? So she's just used to me coming in late, and she's sort of talking to me in her dreams most of the time. Anyway, the first speaker tonight is a guy who's come all the way from Mount Gambier. He's known on Facebook as Ivey. We know him also as Dale Fox. He's a cop, and later on in the... Why did 5 people just leave? And anyway, he's a great asset to the poker community because he brings the Mount Gambier people...
Because they're from...
Yeah, the Mount Gambier people come to all the events and they really support poker. If you look at the Mount Gambier table, it's probably the biggest bunch of degenerates that have ever sat around a table in one night. With the possible exception of the Last Supper. Yeah. No, they can run up really big bar bills. I've seen them in action at the Barossa. Anyway, without further ado, we'll bring Dale Fox to the microphone. Just while he's coming out, I should say there'll be a bounty on Dale's head later on. So it could be the first time in world history that you have a bounty on a cop and all the criminals get a chance to win it. Usually the other way around. Anyway, Dale's our first comedian.
Thank you, John. Hey, everyone. Thanks, John, for inviting us and the Mount Gambier crew as well. I've had to get some folks. Righto. I've got 5 minutes to tell you a lifetime story about poker. Here we go. Righto. So, firstly, I started my poker career around about 2006. And I remember the very night, I was on a night shift. I think it was a Saturday night. And it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I came in for lunch. I was very salty because we only just knocked up 2 gypsy jokers for disorderly in one of our seedy nightclubs But I was pretty pissed off. So anyway, I got to work and I got in there and there's two staff, because they come down as well. So Star is in there watching TV and I looked up there and they're watching TV and there's this poker game on TV. And I said, what the fuck is that on TV? Why is Americans now going to broadcast a poker game? This is fucking ridiculous. And Starry Force, he's going, mate, that's the World Series of Poker. I said, I don't care. You have a look at him. Have a look at him. You got two boring guys sitting at a table, they're playing poker, he's bored out of his brain, and all of a sudden there's a 4 of clubs on the table, and all of a sudden he's lost his shit, he's very excited about it. He said, well, because he's won. So, look, it doesn't really matter whether he's won, it's just a bloody poker game. And I said, oh, by the way, how much money is sitting on that table there? And he said, about $12 million bucks. Wow. Okay. Anyway, so that's the first time I saw poker on TV. A couple of weeks later, I get invited to my first poker game. It was in a garage, and none of us knew how to play poker, except the guy who was running it. It was that bad. We had a list of hand rankings on the wall behind the poker table to let us know what's going on. So I was like, all in, I called. I've got trip kings. And the guy goes, I've got 2 pair. So 4 cards beat 3 cards. Fair enough. That's how it was. But anyway, a couple of years later, I get to play this game and I'm starting to like it. I've got a great mate whose name is Derek Long. He's the one that's drinking the wine over there. Just finished his 16th glass for the night. Thanks, Derek. So Derek plays poker as well. Derek's a great poker player. He's winning a bit of money. I'm winning a bit of money. Anyway, so I go into work one morning and because we're all professional at work, I knock on the door of his office so that all my other team members don't really know. I said, good morning, Sergeant. He goes, good morning, Senior Constable. So can I come in and speak to you? He goes, come in, close the door. Close the door in the office. I said, oh, Longy, I've got a great idea. How about we join forces, all right? And we just combine all our money into one bank account and then we can just have a great night at the end of the year. He goes, great idea. All right, should we call ourselves something? He goes, yeah. Well, your name's Fox and my name's Long. How about we call ourselves Fong? What a great idea. What a great idea. So, as an absolute piss take, we then create our own poker shirts, right? So we've got poker shirts, Fong Poker. Our mascot is this large, oversized, long fox and on the back we've got the Long Fox, right? So we're parading around with these fucking poker shirts on, thinking we're really great. Anyway, so that's how we started. So we started making a bit of money. We actually started making a bit of money. We thought this is really good. Anyway, there was this guy that's come down from Adelaide who was some sort of rep. Anyway, he come down and played poker. Apparently he's like a really good poker player and he's won like state titles and all that bullshit. I don't know his name, right? But he likes 8-5 as a hand. Anyway, so...
Lonnie Lewis.
No. Oh no, we call his name every time he comes out on a poker table. It's called Alan Wright. So anyway, so he comes down and he tells us about this great sort of partnership he's got with his mates in Adelaide, and they've created this great big poker venue, exclusive poker thing, and it's called Maylands Hotel. So Maylands Hotel. So I said, Lonnie, how about we come down, we'll go down to Mount Gambier, Adelaide, and we'll play a game of poker at the Maylands. I said, well, it's $250 for a game. Okay, so we get down there. I said, Longy, don't play a hand for the first session, okay? We don't want to like fuckwits, all right, and get knocked out the first hand. No worries, great. So we sit down there, we get into this, there's large poker tables, there's professional fucking dealers and everything else, and there's all these poker players, and suddenly we look around and there's these young Asians, and there's old Italians, and there's Lebanese, Might have been Australian in there somewhere. Anyway, so we start playing. Anyway, so what happens is that we sit down and we play. And I haven't played a hand. I look over Longy, and Longy's out next half hand. He's got this massive stack. Absolutely. I go, I said, Longy, come over here for a minute. I said, why didn't you just listen to what we had to say at the start? I said, don't play a fucking hand. He said, well, I've already knocked out 2 players. He said, one was a guy called Spiro. He said, I had pocket 5s, the ball comes out 2-2-5, and then Spiro goes all in, and I call him, and all of a sudden, fucking, I've won. Anyway, so, believe it or not, we actually win. I win the night. Longy comes second. It was a fucking great night. And, so anyway, put that away. Got 5 minutes, told you that. So we win. So we've got all these, we've got Poker SA shirts on, we're getting bloody photos taken for Facebook, and it was just a magnificent night. And we get in the car, and we're supposed to stay in Murray Bridge that night. We anyway decided we can't stay in Murray Bridge, it was too hyped up. So we're talking about, we're laughing about our hands, we're counting our money, we won $3,000, it was so fun. We get back there, 7 o'clock in the morning, we got home. 10 o'clock in the morning, we get a phone call. And I wake up, and the phone's ringing. Hello. He goes, this is Superintendent from the Gaming and Licensing and Gaming Announcement. I said, yes, boss. He goes, congratulations on your win last night. I appreciate it.
If we have time at the end, we might bring you back. 5 minutes goes pretty quick. Our next speaker is Gabby, but I don't think Gabby's here.
Gabby's not here. I'm not here.
I said to Jenny, I don't reckon Gabby's coming. I've been sending her messages all week. So we'll let you have 1 minute to finish up.
Need to finish the bloody story, believe it or not.
Superintendent.
Yes. So I said, good morning, boss. He said, congratulations again on the win at Maylands. I said, no, thanks very much. He said, I'm just ringing because, he said, the gaming minister was Gail Gago at the time, and she would like to speak to you and ask you further questions about your game last night. Apparently the casino was a little bit miffed and a bit pissed off about Maylands putting on this big game and taking away their business. Anyway, long story short, I ended up batting for Maylands and spoke to her, and everything was fine. It was pretty cool. Maylands were able to keep going and playing their poker. So that was it. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
Actually, it was well worth hearing that extra minute, because if they'd shut the Maylands down, they wouldn't have the MatchrooM, wouldn't have any poker. So, yeah, the casino was getting a bit greedy back in the days, wasn't it? Nothing's changed too much. Yeah. Anyway, Gabby couldn't be with us. I don't know what's happened to Gabby. We tried making contact with him several times during the week. He's obviously disappeared. So, I was going to tell a little story about Gabby. He actually has a favourite hand, 9-2, and he calls it electricity. But there's always electricity when he plays that hand. Some people get zapped, but occasionally he's actually electrocuted himself by playing that hand and finished out of the tournament. So unfortunately Gabby's not here, so we're going to move on to our next one. A little bit of story about our next speaker. At the last comedy night, he was the star of the show, even though he didn't speak, because we told a story that some of you may remember about a guy who changed professions and became the lollipop man, and he only had 2 speeds. One was stop and one was slow. He got a job to match his abilities, but the funny thing was he was on duty one time, and this attractive woman came past, and George was standing there with one of his workmates. She wound down the window and she said,
A beautiful young lady.
Beautiful young lady. Yeah. And she said to George, "You fat, lazy fucks." Anyway, I was going to my brother's place, Jenny was in the car, and this was months after the comedy night, true story. Driving along Dawes Road, past the COVID testing centre, and who should we see holding up a sign? Holding up a sign, we go past, I said, "Jesus, that's George, that's George." We're going to go around the block. So if you've been near the Repat Hospital, they've redone the whole bloody corner. It's the longest block in Adelaide. They had to go through the roadworks all the way around. About 10 minutes later, we arrived back to where George was standing with the sign. Jenny winds down the window, and George sort of peers in. He thinks we've got a question about COVID testing. And Jenny and I go, "You fat, lazy fuck." And at the previous comedy night, George said, I said, what was your comeback? What did you say? He said, "I'm not allowed to say anything, I might lose my job." Anyway, this time he did have a comeback. He looks at me and he goes, "You little skinny cunt." So he did get his own back, and apparently he's still got his job, so he can. I did report you that, George. Anyway, our next speaker is Dogmeat George.
Jesus Christ, he's got it written down.
I can remember Jim.
Can't read it though.
4 weeks ago.
Time's up.
Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately for you guys, you're going to listen to me for 5 minutes.
No worries.
John invited me here. So, through poker, I've made some wonderful lifelong friends and had some wonderful times. And one of them is my friend Johan. He's in Townsville now. He's not with us. The funniest guy you've ever come across, the laughing Dutchman. So we're playing at the Adelaide Casino one day, and as we're playing, it was me, Lindsay, and a few of the other old guys, and we had a young fella called young Mark. Now, young Mark, I don't know if I should say it, but anyway, he's the owner of Cafe Primo, or his father was. And he was doing the commercials, 990, a real handsome young man, Mr. 990. Yeah. So 990 Mark, he's playing with us, and all of a sudden, Mark runs off and he goes off to the rail. And on the rail, there's this absolutely drop-dead, middle-aged, gorgeous woman. Just like you, Jenny. Actually, I'll take that back because the joke is... anyway, so he comes back to the table. Johan straight away, "Mark, she's a little bit old for you, but you got your friends here. Aren't you going to introduce her to your friends?" Mark says, "Johan, one wise crack out of you and one only." He goes, "Okay, Mark, if that's the case, one wise crack, okay? Now, I'm Dutch, and in Amsterdam we've got our ladies in the windows and everything, so we're way out there." He goes, "So all I've got to say is, if I had a mother like that, I'd make my own brothers and sisters." Well, Johan! He took it on the chin. He actually took it on the chin. So as far as Johan goes, we had quite a few trips over to the Crown Casino, and of course, the typical male trips. I was more overweight than what I am now, so I'd be snoring all night. So I'd get back to the room at midnight, and I'd sleep till 8 in the morning. Johan would come back 8 in the morning and till 4 in the afternoon. And anyway, 3 days later, I get a phone call. It's Renee, his wife. I'm there, "Renee? George, is that you?" "Yes." "Can you pass a message on to Johan, please?" I'm there, "What's that?" "A sign of life would be appreciated." For God, Johan, are you serious? Yeah. "How do you get away with this?" He says, "Easy, George. You have a good wife, you have a great life. If you don't have a good wife, you're fucked." So that's another. Now, And of course, also the other thing we used to do is we actually used to terrorise the Melburnians. You know, in the cash room. As I go in, I'd see my mate Eugene there in the corner. Hey Eugene, how's it going? He goes, terrific George, what can I say? Beautiful exchange rate here, we bring in 500 Adelaide dollars. 8 hours later, we walk away with 2,500 Melbourne dollars. How good's that? And of course, Errol in the corner says, hey, yeah, George, I don't need to go to the bank anymore, I just come to the Crown Casino. But times have changed, unfortunately. Things aren't that easy anymore. The young pucks know the game now. The old days, it was like shelling peas. Now, they shell the old men, unfortunately. How much more time have I got today? You're going 57 cents. Right. And then I had another friend, All in Jong. Now, as far as All in Jong goes, he only knew one move, All in. So he decided to join us in Melbourne one day, one of these tournaments. So he's never played a tournament before, and money's not an issue. He's got money coming out of his backside. So I talked him into playing a tournament. So he plays this poker tournament. We're all knocked out 2-3 hours later. We're looking for John. So we'll go there looking for John. There's John, chip leader. With us on the raft. We're shocked. He's got heaps of chips. He's got cards in front of him, whatever. He gets up. Guys, what's going on? You know, what's going on here? Well, we've been knocked out, whatever. In the meantime, the dealer says, hey, you can't get up. He says, what do you mean I can't get up? You can't get up. I can do whatever I like. Grab some, no, you can't. Grab some chips, put some chips in his pocket, and he takes off. Anyway, he said, tournament, fake money, all this, I can't be bothered with all this stuff. He goes, let's go, come on boys. I said, but John, you might win $4,000. No, let's go. So off we go. Apparently, John was also a real, like to get about a bit. So that night, some of the young boys decided to take him into a lap dancing place. So he goes there, the lap dancer puts his hand in his pocket. He's got all these $100 chips. Gives him a couple of chips. Oh man, he was really great for it. At least he would do spread the love. He goes to all of his poker buddies, gives them some tournament chips. The next day they're going to cash him in, don't they? Not happy, Jang. Anyway, if you've got any more stories, I'll tell you later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. Actually, one night at the casino, they were repairing the lift at the Blythe Street car park. A lot of people used to park across the road from the casino in the Blythe Street car park. And they had signs up for a couple of weeks warning people saying that the lift is going to be out of action. So one night I arrived and there was no lift. So when you went to play, you had to park on the 6th level or above. So I got to park on the 6th level, went across the tournament. When I came back about 1 o'clock in the morning, there was an ambulance. Had the lights flashing. So some poor bastard's had a heart attack walking back to his car. And I thought, geez, I wonder if it's a poker player. Anyway, they just got the bed out of the back of the ambulance and they're pushing. And a lot of those ambos aren't too fit. They were sort of struggling all the way up the ramp. I've heard about this ramping problem that they have with the ambulance people. But these people had a real problem getting up the ramp to the 6th level. So I went up with them and I was sort of chatting and they were heaving and puffing. We got up to the 6th level, there was no one there. So they had to go up to the 7th level, they were sort of talking back to base. So I got in my car and drove off, but I wondered what the hell happened. Is anyone missing? Like, could be Gabby perhaps? Could be Gabby, haven't seen Eugene for a while. Yeah. So I've been wondering ever since, whether we lost a poker player that night. That'd be sad, wouldn't it? Yeah. Anyway, our next speaker comes all the way from Cambodia, and he's well known in the poker community. He runs his own home game from time to time, and he's been having negotiations with some of the TV groups around town because he reckons there's not enough Cambodian representation in all the shows. So the other day I noticed he's obviously been successful because they've introduced a new character on the Wiggles. Has anyone seen it? They've got a, this is actually Reggie Didge, I've got a photo to prove it. There's a new character called Bok. And they were worried about the Wiggles weren't spreading to enough, ethnic groups and whatever. And so this is actually a hand puppet. It's called Bok. You can buy it in all the merchandise stores. I'm not sure how much cut Bok gets. But the sad thing about Bok, he's a hand puppet and he hasn't got any genitals. And all over Australia, there's all these young kids sticking their hand up Bok and having the time of their lives. Anyway, our next speaker is none other than Bok. Now, this comedy routine is going to be a little bit different. I've actually got the Bok envelope here. I went over to Bok's home game recently and I asked some of Bok's friends what they'd most like to ask Bok. So I've got a sealed envelope with 5 questions and Bok has to answer these 5 questions.
Thank you, everybody.
Can we see where the genitals go?
Okay, I'll hold the microphone, Bok. It says you are one of the characters of the Adelaide poker scene. Tell us about some other characters in the game.
Alright, some characters. I reckon Jerry would be one of the characters. But every time you're in a hand against Jerry, he'll be like, hurry up! And then when it's on him, he fucking takes forever. It takes a whole fucking 1 hour, Like, anything to get an edge, Jerry. Another character, maybe my brother, fucking Tom, if you know him. If he's winning a hand, all you'll hear is, puss, 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 puss. On the table, Yeah, exactly. Let's see another character. Andy over there. Andy on the table, one table over there. Put your hand up, Andy. You're playing a hand against Andy, all you hear is, oh, I flopped the nut. And then he'll start laughing. Yeah, get 2 nuts. And then he'll start laughing. Sounds like a fucking another word start, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's about it for that question.
Question 2. What is the worst thing you can do at the poker table?
The worst thing you can do on the poker table would be trading 10% with Lionel, I reckon. I don't think he's ever made any money in his life. And, on a bad day, I reckon if you go outside and catch him during the break, he might be out the tournament. And you're trading with nothing, really. So that's probably the worst thing, I reckon.
Okay, question 3. Why isn't your picture on the wall at the MatchrooM? Now, the reason for this question is because all the champions, ones who win the big tournaments, get their photo up. As you come into the MatchrooM, they've got the wall of honour with all the guys who've won the main event here at the MatchrooM, and apparently your picture's not there. Why isn't your picture on the wall at the MatchrooM?
Fuck off, John. Next question.
Why is he shooting the messenger? I didn't ask these questions. It's these lowlifes over here on Bok's table. But the true answer actually is Bok did win one of those. He chopped for first with Joel Williams, as I recall. And Joel Williams runs a bet with Joel Company, and Joel really wanted to have his photo up as the champion, and they actually chopped the money. So Bok is the champion. Let's give him a round of applause. Question number 4. You run one of the best home games in Adelaide. What makes a good home game?
What makes it like we have a good fucking poker game in Adelaide. We supply cocaine and topless waiters. What it is, anybody who walks through my door, we pay respect, you know what I mean? That's all it is, respect, you know what I mean? We look after our boys, it's like a little bit of a community, we all have fun, we're all friends, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's like a little brotherhood. That's all it is. That's why it's a good game.
Okay, and the final question, last question of the interview. Who do you think is the best poker player in Adelaide?
Everyone knows who I'm going to say. I won't say because I'll get booed off the fucking stage. But yeah, let's see, I reckon my mate, fucking Nick Williams, he's probably the best. He'll have your ass for breakfast every day of the week. Yeah, he's a good fucking player to play. And that's about it.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Yeah, and after the cocaine and topless waitress story, this could be the last crowd that MatchRoom ever has. We all racing over the box place for a game of poker.
All going back there tonight, actually.
Now, the next speaker we were going to have sent me a message last night. She's actually quite ill. I had asked one of the women to come along and get a bit of gender balance. But Helen de Jong had a great story about playing poker with one of the best soccer players in the world. Does anyone know the name George Best? Yeah, well, George Best, he started playing for Manchester United as a 17-year-old and finished up kicking 179 goals for Manchester United. But he was a real lad, a bit like Bok. He liked to drink, he liked to play up, he played hard. So as well as being a fantastic soccer player, he drank whiskey like it was going out of style. They replaced his liver at some stage, and then he still died on his second liver, age 59, which was pretty sad. But Kelly actually rated George Best as the best soccer player in the world at that time. So Helen was going to tell a story about George Best, but unfortunately Helen can't be with us. But I thought, who can I get? Where's a woman who knows a bit about poker who can tell that story? And the only one I could think of was lying in bed next to me at that time when the message came through. So Jon Stark is going to tell Helen's story. Helen's message through the story, and Jenny's going to retell the George Best story for you. So welcome, Jenny.
Hi, has anyone had any bad beats recently? Oh dear. Well, listen, after the show, I'm serious here, if you would, anyone who's got bad beat stories, if you'd like to come and catch up with me, I'd love to pass you on to Jong, because I don't care. I've heard enough bad beats from Jong to last me a lifetime. Love stories to last me a lifetime. Anyway, about Helen, before I start on her story. Helen started playing poker when she was 11. It was draw poker. Her dad used to invite all his mates around to their house, and she used to join in. Her mum was not happy about this, but she got a good grounding in poker. Her dad is Yugoslavian, and he learned to play draw poker in a prisoner of war camp in Germany during the war. Many years later, when they opened the casino in Adelaide, Helen and her dad used to play upstairs, and eventually they had a women's tournament once a week, and that's where Helen met Julie, and you knew I'd mention Julie, didn't you guys? Yeah. And Helen considers her the best female poker player in Adelaide. Okay, so now this is her story. It was in the 70s, and my new husband and I, Pete, were sailing to England for a working holiday. Pete got in with the guys on the boat and started playing poker while I was swimming in the pool and reading books. After a week, excuse me, after a week, I asked, please can I join the poker school? And they said yes. I think they thought that I was easy money. Anyway, we played poker every night on the boat for 3 weeks until we reached England, and I made enough money to pay for both of our fares. When we got to England, one of the poker players said he'd put us up in London, which was great. His sister owned a flat that she was renting to one of the young English movie stars, and the only problem was that she She was going out with George Best at the time, and they said, oh, he might come round. She won't be there because she's away filming. Okay, so the flat was really cool, and we just really loved looking at all the photos of famous people and different things. All the fan mail was left around, and on about the third night we were there, Sam from the boat phoned up and said, oh, can me and my sister and 2 friends come around for a poker game tonight? So we said, yeah, that's good. So we were drinking, playing poker and having the time of our lives. Next minute we hear all this really loud drunken noise coming from the back of the flat. So we ran down there, looked over the balcony, and who should we see but this very sexy George Best. And he was calling out, darling, I love you, I love you. I want to get in your pants. And anyway, so Sam went down, raced down, grabbed him, brought him upstairs, and he was in a bit of a bad way. He was crying, he'd been drinking. His love of his life had disappeared on him. But we made him a cup of coffee, but he said, stuff that, I only drink whiskey. And eventually he joined in our poker game. So this is Helen speaking, remember? So here am I, sitting on the couch with the sexiest guy in the world, often with his arm around me, while we're playing poker, and my husband sitting the other side of the table, throwing me daggers with his eyes. Anyway, we managed to win quite a bit of money off George that night, so much so that at the end of the night, we offered it all back to him, but he goes, no, I've got plenty more where that came from. Besides, I love you guys. Right, the night ended with lots of hugs and kisses, and just got on so well with him. It was a great night. And some of you soccer fans in the audience probably know this. George Best had a few near misses. Miss UK, Miss Canada, and Miss World. Thank you.
Gong in red. Looks like Dale Fox was heading for the gong. Give a bit of his aim back. You notice that finished inside the 5 minutes, Dale? Beautifully timed. No, very good. I was going to tell a little story about George Best myself too. He when he retired, he actually made all these quotes. He used to come out with things that were widely reported in the paper, and at the end of his career, he actually said, you know, would I really like to be remembered for weaving in and out through 4 players at Anfield and kicking a 40-metre goal against Liverpool, or for fucking Miss World? Because I've done both. And he did actually, he was with those ones Jenny mentioned. If you look him up on the internet, it makes a pretty interesting read. Yeah, including the actress who's still from a well-known acting family in England. You can look that up on the internet too.
He never touched my wife.
Johan. Our next speaker is going to be Jimmy. Just while Jimmy's about to come out though, I had a quick story about a president, Andrew Jackson. Has anyone ever heard of Andrew Jackson? Well, back in the day, a lot of the American presidents used to play poker, and Andrew Jackson, he was a really wild character. They used to compare him a lot to Donald Trump. But Andrew Jackson, when he first started playing poker, they reckon a couple of times he risked everything he owned playing poker and betting on horse racing and other things like that. But at one stage there was this guy called Ben Dickinson who challenged him to a duel because this Ben Dickinson had insulted his wife, and there was an argument about some sort of gambling debt. So in those days you used to stand eight paces apart. So Ben Dickinson and Andrew Jackson stood 8 metres apart. Andrew Jackson drew his gun first. The other guy, Ben Dickinson, drew his gun first and shot Andrew Jackson above the heart. And then Andrew Jackson lined him up. He's been shot just above the heart, mind you. Lines him up and shoots him right in the nuts. And the guy, his name's Ben Dickinson. Well, he didn't have a dick in anything after that, because apparently he bled to death, had an excruciatingly painful death. And then some years later, of course, Andrew Jackson was elected President of the United States. And then he was elected again for a second term. So, what a great country, yeah. Only in America.
God bless America.
Now, is Jimmy here now? Jimmy,
Jimmy.
you're up.
Jimmy.
You're up there. Jimmy. So while Jimmy's coming up, Jimmy's favourite hand is 4-7.
7-4.
7-4. Right. And Jimmy's a great character of the game. Bob was talking about characters. He should have mentioned Jimmy.
He can eat a dick.
Now, speaking of eating dicks, Jimmy is my friend on Facebook, and so is my mother-in-law. I often put stuff on Facebook, you know, this happened, that happened, and once Jimmy puts, "Jon Stark, you can eat a dick." And my mother-in-law, it took me many years to win her over, because when I first met Jenny, I drove a panel van and was a bit of a hippie. No, it was an XY Ford panel van. Should have kept it. Should have kept that. Yeah, I sold it for about $150. Anyway, she wondered why I was eating dicks. Jim seems like a very nice man, but he has a foul mouth. Anyway, here he is, Jimmy.
Jimmy, 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I reckon I'll be off in 2 because this is not normally me. I've got a crowd now. Fuck. Normally things come off the cuff, but now it's going to be a bit hard. But anyway, just a quick story. I've been playing poker, I reckon 8-9 years. Started it at the Maylands, and my friend Fred came over one night and he says, "We're going to poker, come play." This is where 7-4 came. So I went, I've never played the game. I said, "What do you do?" He said, he explained it. So I got in there, and my first hand that I got dealt, I got 7-4. So I thought, I'll just call. So I called. The flop was 3-5-6. So I sat there and had to work out. I think, he told me you use 3 cards and 2 in your hand, that makes it straight. So I thought, I've made it. I'm straight. And since that day, I've never folded that hand. Always play 7-4. Thanks, Fred. Now, I met a great bunch of guys playing poker, and it's really, it's been an honour. People like Jon Stark, Alan Roy, they got together and they said, "We're going to Mount Gambier. You're going to come?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, all right, why not?" So Alan organises a bus and we're all going to Mount Gambier. So we get a couple of bloody Asians. I said, "Can they come?" I said, "You know what, throw them on." We're driving up there, we get to Mount Gambier and we meet all the boys up there, great bunch of guys. You got to go and play it. There's top tournament. Shit waiters. We're taking our own strippers up next time. You guys are shit. So anyway, we get there, we play the game, but the whole way up, we're having a big laugh on the bus. Yap, you know, after a couple of drinks and, you know, a couple of bumps, you don't shut up. So the whole way up there, we had a great time, 4 days, perfect. Then we got to come home. So we're driving home, and they pulled over to get a couple of drinks. Alan and John jump out of the bus, and a couple of people, I said, that's it, they adopted this kid, and it was Tim, little Asian boy, he's about this big, weighs 40 kilos. And so Alan and John are the 2 poofs on the bus, and they've adopted little Tim. Tim goes along with it. Dad, drive this, Dad, drive that. Everyone's looking at him thinking, I said, "Don't worry, he's fucking him, don't worry." Got on the bus and fell asleep. Jon Stark, yeah. I can hear him in the back, and I'm thinking, I'm asleep. 4 days, didn't sleep. So I wake up, and I looked at John, and I said, "Do you ever fucking shut up?" Mind you, I was talking for 4 days straight. But anyway, everyone says it. how many poker players here, you get into a hand and you're up against an Asian? And you always fucking lose, don't you? Yeah? I gotta prove my point. I want an Asian, put that there, don't spill it, Jimbo, I've had it a couple of times. I want an Asian to come up here. Which one? Who likes that? Right, you're a fucking Luckbok. Get up here, get up here. Give me that. Let's see how lucky these guys are. Hold that. I'm going to play high card with an Asian. Bet you lose. You're going to pick a card and I'm going to pick a card, yes? Yeah. Hang on, let me fan him properly. Right. He's excited, right? You pick a card. Right. John, I'm going to let you have a card too. All right, 2 against 1. Let's see if we beat this bloke. All right? And I'm going to pick this. Now, I got one of my favourite cards, and this is dead set. I just fucking 4. It's a fucking 4. What have you got, John? He's got a 6. What have you got, cunt?
Good, mate.
And we're going to beat an Asian. It's the same thing. You go to Sydney, you go to Melbourne, you get all these little Asians fucking run around like this. Yeah? Yap, and they want to play poker. They never fucking lose. Same here at the MatchrooM. You know, you get into a 3-way hand. If there's an Asian involved, forget it. Pack up, you go. Yeah, that's just the way it works. But anyway, I haven't been around for a while. I haven't been sick. I've just been in love. So we'll be back. And I hope to see everyone back at the tables very soon. And you know what? You're in a great establishment. They've done it well. Keep doing it well. And I see a lot of new faces here. A lot of new faces. Well, I've got something for you. I'm coming back to haunt you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. Okay, we've got one last speaker, and then straight after that, we're going to get into the 8 o'clock freeze-out bounty turbo. So if you haven't entered yet, it's a $200 entry, and there'll be a $100 bounty on the heads of all the comedians who spoke tonight. So good luck trying to win those. Jimmy should be pretty easy. Just got to beat 7-4.
I bet I'll win with it tonight.
We just got to watch out. How
I'll
many?
put a $10 bet on it. If I get the hand, I'll beat you, John.
Okay, we'll see how we go. Anyway, our last speaker is Recycle Michael. But just before Recycle Michael comes to the microphone, I was going to mention Lucky Charms. Some poker players have Lucky Charms. I occasionally haul out my little Cambodian elephant. I bought this when I was in Cambodia visiting Bok. You'll notice its trunk is up, which means it's lucky. If the trunk was down, it wouldn't be so lucky. Some of the other players like Jerry and Ivan, they have little superheroes. Jerry has his little green man, the Incredible Hulk. Iron Man is Ivan. And guys like Chris Brown have this sort of thing, lucky medallion. I'm not sure why Chris Brown keeps that lucky medallion, because he'd have to be the unluckiest player in Adelaide. But that's the good luck charms. Our final speaker, Recycle Michael, otherwise known as Michael Caine. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, John. I was really worried, actually. Some of you that know me well know my joke repertoire very, very wide.
Yeah, it's fucking shit.
I mean, I'll be honest, it's nearly as wide as my mum, and that's pretty big. But after your little acts, Jimmy, I'm not afraid to offend people now. All the racist jokes I've got in here, they're fair game, I reckon. Nobody gonged him, nobody booed him, so please give me the same respect. Anyway, I am, as John said, Recycle Michael. I'm likely the 144th best poker player in the Adelaide area. Definitely know better than that. But look, people think COVID is a sickness. There's only one type of sickness worse than COVID. And that sickness is if you go all in with 2 red 2s, you get called by 2 red jacks. The flop comes king, king, king. The turn comes king and the river comes ace. That is the only sickness out there that's worse than COVID. That's where you're meant to laugh. That's a joke. Anyway, Sean Connery, Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold Schwarzenegger all get themselves a job on a...
What the fuck is that?
That wasn't part of the act, no. Tell your mum I say hi. Sean Connery, Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold Schwarzenegger get a job working on a movie. And is that for me? Oh, thanks. Anyway, they get a job working on the movie, and it's actually a movie about classical composers, you know. And Sean Connery says, I'll be Mozart. And Sylvester Stallone, he says, I'll be Handel, like that. And Schwarzenegger says, I'll be back. Good. I love that. Perfect reaction. So I was told no jokes about race, religion, politics, sex, anti-vaxxers, disabled people, none of that stuff. So I'm actually going to tell only jokes about those topics. Obviously, Jimmy's opened the door on the race side of things, so that shouldn't be an issue whatsoever now.
They're my mates, but that's different.
Mates? The people I've spoken to said they're definitely not your mates. So I'm not a racist anyway, I'll just put it out there straight up. I've got a coloured TV at home, definitely not racist. So what's the similarity between an anti-vax parent and a responsible bartender? Does anybody know? They both don't give shots to small children. Friend of mine who's... Seriously? Seriously? I met a Greens voter the other day who was in a wheelchair. It's proof that you can be both a fruit and a vegetable. Shouldn't joke about disabled people. Actually, I was told I should put myself in the place of disabled people, and I've done that for the last couple of weeks, and those parking spots are fucking primo. Do yourself a favour. Speaking of special people, though, my brother, he's actually a little bit special. Growing up, all he ever wanted to have to eat was alphabet soup. The good thing for my parents is he's actually dyslexic, so they just gave him normal soup. It was fine. Someone asked me if I could be any superpower, have any superpower whatsoever, what would it be? It was a difficult choice, but I chose Cold War Russia. My New Zealand friend of mine recently lost his wife. It was pretty tragic. He had a grief counsellor. The grief counsellor's advice said, don't worry about it. There's plenty more sheep out in the paddock. Speaking of grief counsellors, actually, mine died recently. Luckily, my grief counsellor was so good I didn't give a shit. Who likes cats? Anybody? Anybody? Now, who's got a cat at home? Put your hand up if you've got a cat. Nobody? Somebody owns a cat. One guy, your house stinks. An Asian cat too. Do you serve that medium well or well done? Actually, that wasn't even in the thing. That was good. Well done. Thank you, Asian person. You've got to play them the right way, Jimmy. That's the key. Actually, I was reading the other day that supposedly the Pope, he's massive on cats. I was reading this article about him that said that he's actually a cataholic. The other week I thought I met the woman of my dreams. It was fantastic. She was so compliant, did everything I asked, and then unfortunately the drugs started wearing off and she woke up. Actually, my girlfriend's family, they're really, really religious, and the other week I went around there for dinner and they said, oh, you can stay the night, but I wasn't allowed to sleep in the same room as my girlfriend. They said that they don't actually allow people to sleep together when they're not married, and I was really disappointed because her dad was pretty hot. I'll finish on this last. I got about 15 here I didn't get through, but that's all right. Jon Stark, no, that's too obvious. A bloke called, we'll just keep him initials, JS, gets himself a job for Christmas time as a Santa Claus. Goes in there, David Jones kind of thing. Puts the big pillow in under his belly and the big beard on and all this sort of stuff. And he's sitting there in the magic cave and this really gorgeous young girl comes in, 18, 19 years old, smoking hot, really, really hot. comes in and thinks, oh, I'm going to sit on Santa's lap, all this sort of stuff, and obviously John's getting excited at that. Anyway, this young girl sits on his lap and doing the right thing. He says, oh, what would you like for Christmas, young lady? And she actually lifts up, she's got a wig. It says, I've actually got no hair, I've got this disease. Yeah, same thing Peter Garrett's got, all your hair falls out. Yeah, there's someone with it. Alopecia, no hair, right? Anyway, and she says, I've actually got this disease, alopecia, all my hair falls out. She said, I'd just love to have some hair on my vagina for Christmas. And John says, do you mind if it's white and bushy? Thank you.
Okay. On that colourful note, that ends our second poker night, comedy night. More crap. Thanks all for coming. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, and straight into the poker tournament at 8 o'clock. If you haven't paid yet, give everyone a round of applause. If you haven't paid yet, come down and see me here at the front, and I'll take your money off your hands. Thank you very much.